Hey, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the cost of living in Orlando, Florida. We'll be right back. Thinking about moving to Orlando, Florida, obviously you want to know what is the cost of living in Orlando, Florida. Now, you can check out my video, The Pros and Cons of Living in Florida. I'll put a link to it where you can go and watch that video. But today in this video, I want to talk specifically about the cost of living in Orlando, Florida. Now, we're going to do just cover some of the major living expenses that you're going to incur living anywhere, really, but specifically for the city of Orlando, which I like to call the City Beautiful. And that's why the name of my channel is Living in Beautiful Orlando, because the city is beautiful. All right. So I want to get right to it. So one of the first things you need to know about the city of Orlando is that it's a very special city. All right. It's very unique in many ways. While we are a city very similar to a lot of major metropolitan type of cities, we have some different benefits, some different advantages, and some very unique things about the city that makes us special. All right. So as far as the overall cost of living, now I mentioned in a previous video the pros and cons of living in Orlando. You should check that one out, where the city of Orlando, compared to some of the major cities around the nation, is fairly inexpensive to live in. Right? We are a major city with one of the top international airports in the nation. We have some professional teams, like your Atlanta or a New York or a Los Angeles, but we are fairly less expensive when it comes to just cost of living. When we look at the numbers, we can see Orlando is actually in the cost of living index score. Orlando scores a 104 compared to other major cities. For example, Atlanta is 107. Cities like Los Angeles is 173. Austin is 119. And even compared to other cities around the state of Florida itself, we're still fairly inexpensive. For example, Miami is 121. Our neighbor over in Tampa is actually probably the one that we can compete with, but Tampa is only an hour away, and Tampa is 100, so just 2 points less than Orlando is. But areas like West Palm Beach is 108, or Naples, which is a great retirement town, is 111. So relative to other cities around the state, we are fairly inexpensive, but also relative to a lot of cities around the nation, we are still very inexpensive to live in. All right, so where are we exactly, I guess, the least or less expensive to live in? Where exactly? Well, whenever you're thinking about moving to a town, the living expenses that are really the major ones and are most important are things like housing, transportation, entertainment, and even food. Right? You can't forget about the food. So we're just gonna cover those areas for today as it relates to the city of Orlando, the city beautiful. All right. So the first thing, housing. What are the numbers for housing? Well, around the country right now, the median price of homes is actually between $400,000 and $410,000. Now that may be surprise you depending on when you're watching this video, But that's those are the numbers right now. Now compared to Orlando, the median price is actually between 335 and 340,000. So very, very, very much less than the national average. All right. So that right there shows you already, one of the really, it's going to be your major cost of living or your major living expense is going to be housing. And that's where, the housing is whether you're buying or renting. As far as renting, the numbers are it's following a similar trend. The average rent for a 3-bedroom in Orlando is right now is running around around $2,000 to $2,200 a month. Compared to the national average, it's actually the national average is around 18 to 2,000. But of course, you have to think about the sort of the dynamics of each city around the nation. Orlando, again, is a very unique city to where while we are a major metropolitan city, we're also within about a 30-minute drive, you're in a rural area within the city. So that means you'll have prices and even rent prices. For example, for on the home ownership side, you'll have homes from 175 all the way up to 400,000 or even more within about an hour drive from one another. So you get a lot of sort of differences in dynamics very quickly without necessarily having to go too far out of the city. All right. So as far as housing, Orlando is sitting really very, very significantly under the national average. So that's what it is for housing, and that's nationally. Now within the state of Florida, median price within the state is about 298 to 300,000. So we're a little bit over that. But again, if you're considering everything that the city of Orlando brings, you can see how we're still very in line and I might say even more competitive and even more attractive than other cities around the country. The next thing is utilities. So you have your housing. Of course, you have to have the lights on. So for utilities, we are doing very well in that end. So the average utility bill in Orlando is approximately $200 a month. Okay, the average utility bill is around $200 a month. Now, compared to the national average, that's about $2,500 more. The national average for utility is $175 a month. So we're doing very well there also. As far as internet around the country, the national average is about $65 a month. Here in Orlando, we're about $75 a month. Okay, so as far as utilities, our utility score average is around 102, and the national average is around 101. And as far as the state-wise, the state-wise, it's about 102 as well. So we're falling we're right there in the middle. But again, if you're comparing some of everything that Orlando has to offer, and we'll probably get to that when we get to the entertainment side and the food side, you'll see everything that the city has to offer and how you can compare if you're moving or if you're considering moving to other parts of the country. Then you can put them side by side and see which one will benefit your family the best. All right, so the next thing is transportation. Now, transportation is very interesting here as well. We have some public transportation options. We have the Lynx bus system, and we also have the Sunrail. But unlike some of the northern states and cities, we don't have a very huge dependency on public transportation. Most of the residents in Orlando rely on their own private transportation with their own cars. So that means now you're going to be more concerned about the gas prices more than you are necessarily with public transportation. But we do have some options for public transportation, again with the Lynx bus system, which has routes all throughout the city, and also the Sunrail, which is expanding its coverage around the city as well. Now, as far as registration for your car, registration for your car is going to cost you about $35 for 1 year, and that's for cars that are up to about 2,500 pounds. All right, so $35 per year for a registration, which is right in line with the national average, which is about $40 per registration. Insurance for your car. Got to have the cars insured. Is gonna be around $900 to $1,200 a year in Orlando, where the national average is around $1,900. So we're right underneath that. And also, when it comes to the gas price, okay, the average gas price right now, again, and these numbers are numbers that are going to change depending on the economy, depending on just the time that you're considering moving to Orlando. Right now, a gallon of gas, the average price of a gallon of gas is around $3, which is significantly lower than the national average right now, which is around $3.69. So, again, because we're very heavily dependent on our own private transportation, with our own cars, you definitely want to know what gas price is in Orlando. Now, to my favorite part, food. All right. So again, I mentioned in a previous video that I did called Top Pros and Cons of Living in Orlando. You might want to check that out. Check the link in the descriptions or somewhere around the screen here to that video, and where I talked about just food overall, just the diversity that we have here in Orlando, being a very touristic city. We have a lot of different cultures, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different ethnicities within the country, both residents and tourists coming in. So you have a variety of choices. If you're a foodie, you will definitely love the city of Orlando on that end. Now, what is it going to cost you to go to a restaurant and have a meal? Well, the average sort of inexpensive meal for one person in Orlando is about $18. It's about $18. And if you were to go to a restaurant and get a 3-course meal for two, well, that's going to cost you between $60 to $70 for that outing. So again, that falls kind of right in line with most cities, but it's still on the lower end as far as affordability. The next thing is entertainment. Now, this is probably the number one thing that Orlando is known for. When you consider all of the attraction parks or the theme parks that we have, from Disney World to Universal Studios to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which is basically an attraction of its own. SeaWorld, we have Fun Spot, we have the Dr. Phillips Performing Center, which has hosted some major production and major concerts, and with some international recording artists. There are a lot of things to do entertainment wise in the city of Orlando. Now, what is that going to cost you? Well, the great thing with those things is that as a Florida resident, you actually get a lot of discounts. Yes, you can get from 15% all the way up to 40% discount on theme park tickets to Disney and Universal Studios, SeaWorld. Almost every theme park offers some sort of discount to their residents for either one or multiple day passes that you can take your family and enjoy. Movies and things like that. On average, a ticket will cost you between $8 to $12, and that's including snacks. But that's again, those are pretty consistent across the board anywhere in the country. As far as bars or getting a drink, your average cocktail at a club in Orlando is going to cost you around $14 to $16. And as far as gyms, with your UFit or the Crunch Fitness or Planet Fitness franchises, basically a gym membership can run you between $10 to $15 all the way up to $200 if you're thinking about something like a CrossFit box or even personal training. So when it comes to the gym and gym memberships and staying fit, you can say that on average it's about $35 to $40 a month to get that and have that in your part of your budget and your expenses. Because that you should be thinking about when you're thinking about what is it going to cost to live in a particular area, a particular city. You want to think about just the overall cost of living, and within that, what's the housing, what are utilities, what is transportation, or food, entertainment, even some additional expenses like insurance, gas. What are those things are going to cost me, and how does that compare to where I'm living currently, and also how does that compare to the income that I'm going to gain in that particular city that I'm moving to. Anyways, if you hope these things will help you in coming to a decision about moving to Orlando. And of course, if you are moving to Orlando, don't hesitate to reach out to me and give me a call, text me. I'll have my number somewhere on the screen in the description, where you can reach out to me and let me know how I can help you move to the city of Orlando and make the experience a beautiful experience. All right. My name is Joe Derilus with the Realist Home Team with eXp Realty. Until next time, until the next video.